you need to immediately capture that idea. And what that allows me in the long term is I never have to start writing from a blank page. Again, I have a seed of an idea like this video, and then I can complement it, ideas that I found all over the years on things that I've been consuming anyways. Hey friend, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Dan, and in this video, we're gonna talk about how to see content ideas everywhere. So as a content creator, one of the things that you struggle with the most is finding content ideas for your articles, for your videos, for social media, and really for anything that you need to create original new content. So when you actually do the work and sit down to write your next video, for example, it feels like such a heavy lift every time because you're starting from a blank page. So the first thing I want to talk about is this myth that all creators start writing from a blank page. That's simply not true. It is a myth. What normally happens instead is that a creator will start with the seed of an idea, a thought that they came on their own, and then enrich that idea by using other sources, by stealing from other artists and creators. And so in reality, what separates merely a good creator from a great creator is the ideas that they are stealing and how good they are. And here's the good news. You already have everything that you need to get started stealing great ideas, because you're probably already consuming so much information on a day-to-day basis from articles, from books, from TV shows that you're watching, from podcast episodes that you're listening to. And so you're already being thrown into all these ideas from other creators, from other creative people. But there's still a couple of things missing to make sure that you steal the great ideas. And the first one, and probably the biggest one, is that you start to look at the information you're consuming from a creator's lens instead of a consumer's lens. Right, so what do I mean by a creator's lens? What I mean by this is that every time you're gonna interact with a piece of content, whatever that is, you're gonna look at it from the perspective of a creator, thinking, how can I use this information that I'm consuming? How can I steal that idea and apply it to my own content? And I'll give you a couple examples on how I do this on a day-to-day or on a weekly basis. So let's start with the simplest example of all. You see a piece of content and you try to recreate the same feeling from your own perspective. So one of the types of videos that I enjoy watching a lot is seeing other people's productivity desks and their workspaces and how they organize it for productivity. It's kind of a guilty pleasure. So if I looked at those videos simply from the consumer perspective, it would mean that I would just be looking at the video for entertainment purposes. But if I shift my lens a little bit and I start to look at it from the creator's perspective, now I have an idea that I can recreate and talk about about my productivity desk setup. And so that's exactly what I did. I watched all of these videos and I thought, well, this is something of an idea showing my desk and showing my workspace that I can recreate in this YouTube channel. And so I created a video about my productivity desk setup, and that did quite well, which made me quite happy. Now, what most people would think about here is that you're stealing the idea of someone else, but that's not a reality because you're not showing their productivity desk, you're showing your own productivity desk. You're looking at a piece of content and thinking, how can I apply this to my own life with my own original perspective? Maybe you add a couple of things to that video. And when I look at those videos, there's another subtle lens that you need to look at, which is how was that video constructed? What made you watch one of the productivity desk setup videos until the end and maybe skip the other? Was it the angles? Was it the way that information was presented? Was it the actual productivity desk setup? So yes, I'm still very much looking at those videos for entertainment purposes, but then there's a second layer, which is how can I apply this to my own videos? Books are pretty much the same thing. Two different people can read the same book and have a different perspective on what the book meant to them. Maybe because a particular part called out to them more than the other person. And so if you ask those two people to create kind of a summary of the book, you'll soon find out they will be very different summaries. And because on how that information impacted you differently, now you're able to create something new. One way that I do this for the last couple of years is to publish book summaries on my blog. So the summaries that I publish on my blog are not meant to be an easable, digestible way of consuming the book chapter by chapter, but rather they are my interpretation, how I saw the book and how it impacted my life. So you can do the same, create your own book summaries, and maybe even do them in video. I've done that before as well. And you can do the same for articles. Maybe you read an article that really resonates with you, but maybe you have a different angle on how you want to approach that article. For example, there are many ways to prioritize your work. I read an article not long ago about the 10,000 per hour work matrix, and I really liked it. It was not something that I came across before. The idea was so novel. So then I explored it, I applied to my own life, seeing, does this work for me? And then I did a video just explaining what it is and how I apply it to my own life. So now I'm taking that article a little bit further. I'm explaining what it is, but also I'm giving my own take on how I apply it to my life. And hopefully that will be helpful to other people. And even things that you don't really think are gonna inspire you can turn into something to create original content. One of the examples also from this YouTube channel is I watched The Queen's Gambit not long ago. I really loved the show. It was so interesting. And as I was watching it, because I had that creative lens turned on, I thought about the lessons that there were in the show about how to learn something new. The main character, Elizabeth, goes to learn chess from a very young age to become the best chess player in the world. Now, obviously she learns chess, but the way she learns chess can be applied to learn pretty much any skill. Take the main lessons and say, apply this to learning guitar, for example, and you now have a step-by-step playbook on how to learn an new skill. So then I turned that into an original video of my own take of the 10 productivity lessons from the Queen's Gambit. So I hope I drove the point across that you must be looking at content from this creative lens to have that antennae always on to look at things and say, how can I use this to create new original content in my work?
I can use all these things!
And to do that even further, you need to know about the creator consumer fit. So in tech, there's this concept called product market fit. Basically, product market fit is the holy grail of new startups. When you have your product in a good market and you're satisfying a need for that market that is willing to pay a price for your product. And the theory is, once you achieve product market fit, startup takes off, and the rest is history. So in the same way, you can have creator consumer fit. And what that means is that the things that you are consuming are giving you ideas for the things that you want to create. So for example, for me, I'm interested in productivity, creativity, and personal development. So if instead I'm following just technology news, that's not going to be very applicable to my own work. What I want to do instead is curate the feeds, the streams of information that I'm consuming to have that creator consumer fit so that the things I'm consuming are on productivity, creativity, and personal development. And so you need to curate your social feeds for that creator consumer fit. And that means your Twitter, your Instagram, your YouTube, and the articles that you're reading, the YouTube videos that you're following, and so on. So to start curating your feeds, all you need to ask yourself are 3 questions. Who are the people in your niche, the interests that you have? What can you learn from them? And what great ideas can you steal from them? And again, I use steal liberally as a term here, but what I mean is, what can you take from their ideas and apply your own original twist? And by creating your feeds one by one, it might take a little bit of time, but then all the streams of information that you are consuming are now in the niche that you are working on. And that's really liberating because every day you'll be exposed to new ideas on the things that interest you. Now, I like to think there's a second type of people that I like to follow that don't necessarily fall within my niche, but I want to learn something specific from them. For example, if I want to learn a little bit about filmmaking, I might want to follow, say, Casey Neistat or Peter McKinnon, not because they are in the niche that I'm interested in, but because I want to learn more about filmmaking, on how I can make better videos and B-rolls, shots, camera angles, and so on. So these are the people that inspire you by process instead of ideas. For example, in writing, I really like Paul Graham's writing. I might not be interested in everything that he writes, but the way that he writes, it's so beautiful to me that I must read it to learn more about the craft of writing good sentences.
It's supposed to inspire me.
So people you want to learn from the process, that's the second type of people you want to follow. And if you are unsure about the creator consumer fit, there's a couple of prompts that you can ask yourself to find out the things that really interest you. For example, where do you get your inspiration? What are the people that really inspire you? What sorts of things do you fill your head with? What are the websites that you visit very regularly on the internet? Who are your heroes? Who are you admire for the process rather than the ideas, or even both? Ask yourself these questions, write your answers down, and then start curating your feeds to have that creator consumer fit, and you're always exposed to the things that interest you and the things that you work on. And then finally, the last step is to make sure that you have a system to capture the best ideas that you find. So here's what I mean by this. Every time you come across something that you really like, either a process or an idea, you need to immediately capture that idea. Now, there are a couple ways that you can look at this. The first one is quick capture. When you do quick capture, the best thing that you have by your desk is this. It's simple, it's small, it fits in your pocket. You can take it if you ever leave the house and immediately jot down an idea of something that inspires you. I do this at all times. I'll just simply jot my thoughts, and then I'll come back to it from time to time to review those ideas, that inspiration. If you prefer digital over paper, that's fine. All you need is your phone. So what I do is I create a note here called Mind, and here I jot down all the ideas that inspired me and that I might use at some point. So I have comedy bits, I have names of people, I have video ideas, name for courses, basically everything. So for example, the first one is how to organize your apps like a minimalist. So this is an idea that I had for a video. Maybe I watched it somewhere, I don't really remember, to be honest, it doesn't matter. Here's another one, how to get to Inbox Zero in 10 minutes. I had this idea because I have a system for Inbox Zero, and maybe I want to do a video about that. And here's just a simple sentence, the game is being in the game. And this is applied to creators where you want to think long term, instead of focusing on the now, that you're gonna play the long game, it's gonna take a few decades to be an overnight success. So that's the way that I do it on my phone, that I simply jot down immediately when I'm exposed to a new great idea. So that's the method of quick capture for you. Ideally, you want to have absolutely no friction to capture new ideas. So if you go outside, you have the notebook, all you have to do is take it out of the pocket and simply write it down. The phone, take it out of your pocket and simply write down in the Notes app. Then for long-term capture of the best ideas that you find around everything that you're consuming, what I really like to use is a note-taking app. In this case, I use Roam, and I use it as my Zettelkasten. So what that means is that all the articles, all the books, everything that I'm consuming, I will jot down my notes on those pieces of content inside Roam. And what that allows me in the long term is I never have to start writing from a blank page. Again, I have a seed of an idea like this video, and then I can complement it ideas that I found all over the years on things that I've been consuming anyways. Because again, the things that interest me are creativity and productivity. I'm gonna read about how to be more creative, how to be more productive as a creator, and then I can use those ideas for videos, for articles, for anything that I'm creating. So for you, it doesn't mean that you need to use Roam. You can use Notion, that's fine. You can use Obsidian, you can use Evernote if you're still trapped in 2008. It really doesn't matter as long as you have a central location where you place all your notes and that it's easy to retrieve them later when you're creating new original content. So that is my system to start seeing content ideas everywhere. The minute that you do this shift and start saving your best ideas, your output is gonna dramatically increase and it's gonna make creating new content almost effortless. And if you want to use Roam to save your best ideas, to use it as your Zettelkasten, I have a video exactly about that. I recorded a masterclass that's gonna take you from beginning in Roam, someone who never opened the app really, to an expert very quickly, learning all the key commands, everything that you need to know. If you want to watch that video, if you're so inclined, all you have to do is click here to go watch it right now. And before that, if you want, feel free to subscribe. It's free, doesn't cost anything, and you can always change your mind later. So thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.